So you're new to SCP Secret Laboratory and you find yourself dying a lot. That's fine. Don't worry about it too much because I can teach you very simply how everything works and you'll find your life much easier. I'll be covering tons of information you should know if you want to stay alive, such as classes and maps. However, I'm gonna stop wasting your time and we're gonna get into this. So, what is SCPSL? What's an SCP? And what the hell am I looking at right there? Well, cease your anxieties as I plan to cover it in full starting now. SCP Secret Laboratory is an online multiplayer game where you play during a containment breach inside of an SCP facility. What occurs changes every single time you play, depending on what you're playing as, and of course, the people you're playing with.
Santa got a surprise for you.
What on earth is the surprise? I don't know if I should want it or be surprised.
Just grab my big sack.
Oh no.
That's crazy, bro. As for the second question, what's SCP? I've got another crazy large video covering that, if you want to see. But basically, an SCP is anything that defies our understanding of the laws of the universe and physics and shit. But now it's time to get into the first topic, classes and roles. You're gonna end up spending a lot of your time getting well acquainted with the role of Class Disposable. Class D personnel are these orange guys in the jumpsuits. And do you see that? That's the old model right there, because the operational guide in the game is outdated and completely useless. Moving onward though, Class D spawn in light containment inside of their containment cells. Their goal is to find loot that will help them escape. Their counterparts, scientists, also share this goal of needing to escape. More on them later, however. Class D are part of the Chaos Insurgency team, which is an anti-Foundation group that goes in to raid the sites. Both Class D and scientists spawn in Light Containment Zone, although scientists spawn randomly in Light. Scientists are on the Foundation team. There are also facility guards, however they spawn in the entrance zone. Let's quickly talk about the teams. So we got the Chaos Insurgency on the Anti-Foundation team with the D class. Then we have the Mobile Task Force, scientists and facility guards on the Foundation team, and then there's the SCPs. So Class D want to escape, Chaos want to help them and fight all the Foundation. Foundation want to help scientists and attack the Chaos and Class D, or they could help the Class D out on their team. And SCPs just want everything to die. It's about time that we learn a bit better idea about the structure of the map and where you're supposed to go to escape. Now, I'm gonna show you a very professionally made graph, so bear with me here on this one, okay? Class D and scientists spawn in the light containment zone, and they need to get to surface, but I've already told you this before. To get there, they have to find the checkpoint and get through it with a keycard that allows them to open the checkpoint. From there, they are inside of heavy containment, which is where all the SCPs spawn. If you can make it through heavy containment to an entrance zone checkpoint, you make it into entrance zone. An entrance zone is where the facility guards spawn, as well as a few other things. You will also find the two gates to the surface zone, with both the gates leading to opposite ends of the current surface zone. Gate B is where the exit is, and where MTF spawns. Gate A is where the nuke room control is, and also the Chaos Insurgency spawn. Alright, so a quick recap. When you spawn in as a scientist or Class D, you get a card that opens a checkpoint. You enter heavy containment and find another checkpoint. Then, you find the gates, either A or B, to get to surface zone. From there, you just run over to the end of Gate B, where you escape and join your respective team. Unless you are detained. If you are detained by the opposite faction, you will join the faction you are detained by if you escape. Now I know I'm not the best of explaining, and that was probably a lot, so we're gonna take a breather and go and talk about keycards instead. Keycards are much more fun to talk about. We'll be somewhat quick with this. The lowest level is Janitor. It can only open 914, and it has the first square checked. Next are Scientist cards, which have significantly more access than the Janitor cards. Scientist cards can open the Candy Room and Lights, 914 of course, SCP-096 and 106's containment. Then we have Research Supervisor cards, which can do everything a Scientist card can, except a bit more, because now they can open checkpoints and SCP boxes. The next card is the Zone Manager card, which can open checkpoints as well as 914. I won't mention the fact that every card can open 914 from now on, because all of them can. Next up is the Guards cards, which can open basic armory access things as well as checkpoints. These armory access things include the side rooms on checkpoints and entrance, the mini lockers in the 3x3 armory lockers, light armory, and heavy armory. Next up is the MTF Operative cards, which has the same permissions as the Guards card, except a bit more, as now they can open the surface gates, the large lockers and the 3x3 locker things, generators, SCP items, and the E11 case. Next up is the Commander cards, which is the same exact permissions as the Chaos cards, so we'll do them together. Both the cards can open the Micro HID chamber, which gives you access to one of the most powerful weapons in the game. They can also open these smart fridges, experimental weapon lockers. And they house some pretty hard to come by special weapons, such as the 3X Particle Disruptor and the Jailbird. They also can open an intercom if for whatever reason you wanted to go in there. Finally, there's a secret between the cards that makes them different. Chaos cards cannot open and close doors by being thrown, while any Foundation card with the access level can. Next up is the Facility Manager card, which can open everything that is not armory related. The Facility Manager can open the Nuke Access button on the Surface Zone, which is really all you'll ever want this card for. Finally, there is the O5 cards, which can open literally everything in the game. But let's get a better look at what these symbols mean. The first three are SCP access related, the first box being 914 and the others meaning other higher tier SCP things. You'll learn from experience. The next box is Surface Gate access. The box after that is Nuke access. Then we have another pair where there are 3 tiers of Armory. You'll have to learn what each tier opens from experience. It'd take forever to go through it. Or just rewind to when I was talking about the cards and look at the boxes they had. The next ones are pretty self-explanatory. You have the checkpoint access and intercom access. And finally, we're able to switch sections into the layouts and rooms that spawn inside the facility. This is going to take a while. But we must start somewhere, so welcome to Light Containment Zone. You're most likely going to start at the Class D cells, as we've talked about earlier. The maps will always be different, so a pro tip is to stay near the edges and corners, because you'll find areas of interest more reliably. We're gonna start with the test chamber, or candy room as it's called. Inside, you'll find a locked door, and a door you cannot immediately open. On the right side of the room, you'll find either a medkit spawn or a locker spawn, or sometimes even nothing. If you can open the door, you'll find yourself in the observation room, which has a window looking into the testing room. On the table, there's a computer which, if you click on it, will open the door previously unopenable. Inside the testing room is a candy bowl, which has a simple rule set. Take no more than 2, or your hands will fall off. You can take candy from the candy bowl, which do different anomalous effects, which I'll cover in the items section. Back in the observation room, however, you can find a possible gun spawn, a zone manager spawn, and a combat armor spawn, as well as a coin in the cup. Finally, there is a potential SCP item spawn. Now we're gonna talk about the checkpoints, either exits A or B. You'll find the timer at the top counting down the decontamination, which basically just puts a time limit for how long you can be inside the Light Containment Zone before it is no longer accessible for the rest of the game. you can find a possible medical spawn on the side. Keen observers will see that this is not how fast a second goes, so instead of 15 minutes, you actually have 11. You can easily hide in the corner where you see me here and wait for something to open the checkpoint for you, in which you can sneakily pass through. Make sure that you are stealthy about this, because if an SCP passes through, you wouldn't want to get caught. Once you actually make it past the checkpoints, you'll find an area with 2 elevators. These will take you to heavy containment. Now let's take a look at these airlocks. There will be 4 doors in this little hall replacement, but the 2 in the middle are special. Inside the center of the room, you'll find a good hiding spot and a possible SCP item spawn. However, let's talk about those 2 center doors now. When one closes, the other opens, and vice versa. This can be especially useful, or just get you killed. It depends on your situation. Next, I want to talk about one of the most important areas in the game, SCP-914. You will need any keycard to open this. In the center, you will find SCP-914, the machine itself. You will have the input and the output. To the right of the room, you will find yourself some shelves with a possible keycard spawn. SCP-914 is one of the most complicated parts of the game, with 5 unique settings. As a simple rule though, anything you put in the intake and set the machine to fine, you will get something better in the outtake. It is safe to walk inside of the machine, unless it's a modded server. It might do something else. And whatever item you're holding in your hands should also get upgraded. This is how you are going to get the higher tier cards that you need to escape and unlock other various things. 914 can also change weapons and ammo, whether you want to upgrade something or downgrade it. It's your choice what you want to do. A quick thing about the general layout of light containment I'd like to add. The same door might say something different on each side, which is why it is completely stupid to try and navigate your team to go to one door. The next point of interest is the washrooms. The bathrooms appear like this, with a possible medical pack spawn to the right of the door. Inside you will have the men's side and the women's side. On the men's side you have a possible gun spawn and a possible keycard spawn. As you can see, I got lucky with the gun spawn. On the women's side, there is a possible keycard spawn right there. And I believe a gun spawn right there recently added, but I might be crazy. Next up is the notorious weed room. One half of the room is inaccessible and guarded by this glass, as you can see. Behind the glass, there's a possible keycard spawn either side of the middle plant and SCP object spawn. Going to the door parallel, we can find a possible SCP item spawn, as you can see here, or a possible locker or medical pack spawn. This glass, however, is quite breakable, as a bullet or 2 can easily destroy it and give way. However, you could also throw heavy items at the glass to break it. There will be 0 signs of progress, but trust me, if you throw it long enough, it will break. You just gotta give it time. And the heavier the item is, the faster it will break. It's also worth noting that the glass in the candy room is also breakable. It just takes a lot longer to break. Next up is PC-15, which is clearly an office room but is listed as a cafe for whatever reason. Anyways, here it is, and there's a possible gun spawn next to the tipped over desk, a possible locker or medical pack spawn, and a scientist card that'll spawn randomly across the many tables. There's also a SCP object spawn at the very back of the room, as well as 2 more medical pack spawns in which I'm looking at now. We're almost done with light containment, and here is the PT room, which is the old SCP-173 spawn point. This room is unlike any other, as it has a staircase leading up to the main areas of interest. At the top of the stairs, there are 2 rooms to choose from. The small room on the right has a possible weapon spawn, as well as a possible medical pack, SCP object spawn, and a workstation spawn. The main area doesn't house much, as the gate in the center does not lead to anything currently. It's an empty room. However, there is a possible medical pack and locker spawn here, making it worth your time. Now we are in the second to last room of light containment, the Light Armory. You need at least Armory Access 1 to enter, and this is surprisingly one of the best armories in the game. On the left table you'll find heavy armor, which is the best armor in the game, as well as 2 crossfix and some ammo to go with them. On the right table you find 2 combat armor, 2 Com-18 pistols, one FSP submachine gun, as well as some more ammo, a torch, radio, 3 grenades, and 4 flashbangs. There are also 2 workstations in this room, which are the stations where you can edit your guns. More on them later. Now we've left the final area left to cover, GR18. Inside is a gate you do not need a card to open. In the center you will find a glass box housing a possible gun spawn. There is also a possible locker and medical pack spawn, a possible workstation SCP object spawn, and another possible weapon spawn, as well as a keycard spawn. I never mentioned what was inside the lockers. Basically, you can find a few types of keycards, a few types of medical items, as well as torches and radios. However, it is time to say goodbye to light containment zone as we go down the elevator into heavy containment. It's very important to note that heavy containment is the first zone in the game to be fully reworked. So, what are we looking at? Welcome to Heavy Containment Zone, the zone with the most depth currently, and arguably the most important zone in the game. But let's cut the dramatic music, we have our work cut out for us, and I don't want this video to go so long. As you're looking at right now, these are containment bulkhead doors, which are just doors that take forever to open, and that's it. Heavy Containment uses a clutter system that randomly spawns a bunch of assets throughout the hall, such as boxes and gates, although it's not as random as you might think. In fact, it's quite predictable, and you'll learn it quite quickly. Anyways, let's move on to our first area, Heavy Containment Armory. As you can see here, they are safely above a bottomless void. On either side of the main room, you can find a generator spawn or medical pack spawn. Could be both, could be neither. However, once we actually take a look inside the room, as you can see, it is quite small, and if we go to the table, we have a bunch of 9mm ammo, some 5.56 ammo, a torch, radio, and COM-18 pistol. There's also a workstation, in case you're unhappy with any attachments you have, or with the pistol. There's also a possible SCP object spawn, an experimental weapon locker spawn, and a medkit spawn. Next up is SCP-106's containment cell, where 106 spawns. There's also a possible generator, medical pack, and experimental weapon locker spawn on the wall. I also believe there's a guaranteed SCP object spawn here next to the door. Speaking of which, if we enter the observation area using a scientist keycard, going to either door, because there are 2 doors leading to this area, we can see that it's pretty bare, and, you know, it used to house a lot, but now it's just nothing. However, there is an MTF operative card and a coin, which is perfect for if you need to escape. Real fast, I would like to talk about the layouts. Here's the layout of Heavy Containment Zone. As you can see, it is the most complex layout currently, but sticking to edges will keep you pretty well. Even I get tripped up in this layout sometimes. Next there's the smallest zone of Entrance Zone, which we still have left. Then there's Light Containment Zone, which I hope you are well acquainted with by this point. Next up we have the Achromatic Abatement Sector, which is basically just this weird 4-way room that you come across occasionally. The main star here being the waterfall, which actually has physics with the water. Although it's pretty useless and you'll never use it. Anyways, we're off to a more important room, such as the 049 and 173 containment area. Up here is a sub-level where you are greeted with left or right. We will start by going to the left, which will show us to 049's area. However, it also connects to 173's area up the ramp you see at the end, which loops back round to the elevator. Lying dead on the floor, we can find the old guard model with an adrenaline. There is also a possible medical pack spawn next to him, or it could be guaranteed, I'm not sure. On the side of the armory, we can find a broken medical pack for whatever reason. It doesn't do anything. You will need Armory Access Tier 2 if you would like to enter SCP-049's armory. On the left wall, you will either find the 3x3 lockers or the Epsilon 11 rifle case. Whichever you find here, the other will be in the nuke room armory and vice versa. On the workstation table to the right, when you enter, there will be an FSP submachine gun. Going to the gate, it does not need a keycard to open, and here's where SCP-049 will spawn. There's also a guard card resting on the floor, as well as a window looking into the armory. The window is very weak and can grant us easy access into the armory early, giving us access to the FSP and the small lockers if you have the access. If you were to have gone right from exiting the elevator, there's a possible medical pack spawn. Going up the ramp will connect us to where 173's chamber is, as well as a possible SCP item spawn. Continuing further down the ramp will connect us back to 049 sector. Next, we have SCP-096's containment cell, which is one of the smallest rooms in the game for whatever reason. On this wall, we have a possible generator, experimental weapon locker, and I believe a possible medical pack spawn, but I'm not sure. Right here, we have a possible SCP object spawn and medical pack spawn. Inside, using a scientist card, we can find an operative card on the floor and the old dead guard body. Now say hello to Tesla gates, which are a natural obstacle you will face many times during your time in heavy containment. Be careful, as these can easily end you around if you're not careful. Tesla gates have these lines on the floor where you could see the radius for when a Tesla gate activates and when it's going to shock. There is also a light that will activate when it is primed. Note that SCP-079 will always have the Tesla gates appearing active if he is watching it, and he can zap it himself. Back to the lines on the floor, once you're close enough it will start automatically zapping repeatedly. You have to wait until it is just finished to run through. The timing is actually quite easy, you just need to get used to it. Next we have SCP-939's containment area, which is a special side room, which is currently the first of its kind. This room houses a little bit of fun for us, such as a guaranteed medical pack spawn there, as well as a mighty fine hiding spot. There's also some guaranteed lockers to spawn here, and of course SCP-939 spawn. Here we have the heavy containment test room, which is old 939 spawn points. In the middle area we have a possible SCP item spawn, medical pack spawn, and an experimental weapon locker spawn. The observation area has nothing to offer for us. However, if you are skilled enough, you can shoot out the glass in the observation chamber and be able to perform some sick as fuck parkour jumps to navigate the room quicker. Next up we have SCP-079's containment cell. This is the most unique area, honestly, because it is not immediately accessible, no matter your keycards. You have to go around the map first and then activate 3 generators. Beware that the SCPs will try to help their computer teammates and turn them off. The announcer guy will say if a generator has been successfully activated. The gates will automatically open once all 3 have been activated. Now, the gates are accessible with Armory Access Tier 2. Going through the second gate, we will find the side room and SCP-079 in the flesh. It's just his model here, and you can't do anything to him. Yet. Inside the armory, we have the most powerful armory in the game, as of right now. Here, we can access the Captain Gun, as it's called by the community, which is just the LMG that the MTF commander gets, along with some ammo. On the opposite side, we have another E11 case with some ammo to go with it as well. The table here has a lot of stuff, including 9mm ammo, some adrenaline shots, medkits, grenades, torches, radios, and flashbangs. There's also a facility manager keycard on the workstation in the room. But then there's the star of the show, which is the SCP-079 recontainment button. By shooting out this glass, you will contain 079 early. Note that he will automatically die if all his teammates are dead. By hitting the button, the facility will overcharge, the lights will go out, the doors will lock for a period of time, and then SCP-079 will be dead. Now, we have the nuke room. There are 2 elevators you'll see here, which work differently from all the other elevators in the game. This is because there is a hole in the ceilings of the elevators, as well as the fact that the doors shut too quickly for you to run through before they close. If you time it right, you can actually get on top of these elevators as they're coming up as well. And a lesser known fact is that you can jump down the elevator shaft if you are an SCP, and not need to take the elevator down. But now let's talk about the layout of the nuke room once you head down to this sub-level. Here I am exiting from the left elevator. To the right are the vents and nuke itself. To the left is the armory. The right elevator has the armory to the right and the nuke to the left. There are no vents on the right side. Headed down to the nuke, finally, we can see that there's quite a bit of cover around and quite a few areas for you to cut back and flank. Here we can see the control panel guarded by the circular platform, which is perfect for flanks. Going up to the panel, we can see three things: a screen, switch, and a big red button. The switch will either enable or disable the nuke. If the nuke is enabled, you can activate it remotely from the surface zone, as long as you have the right keycards to open the button. Once it is open, it will be permanently opened for the rest of the match. And from here, you can start the detonation sequence, giving everyone 90 seconds to escape the facility. From here, everything goes red and every door that can open will open. You can choose to hit the big red button previously mentioned if you would like to stop the facility from, exploding. Just make sure to flip the switch to disable the nuke from starting again. Alternatively, if you just want to see fireworks, you can enjoy the show and let it run. The blast doors on the surface will permanently shut, killing everyone who is inside the facility and the elevators. But let's take a second back and talk about those vents that I previously mentioned. There's a workstation going up, as well as the vents themselves. There are three little vent openings where you can choose to drop down. The vents are perfect for getting to the nuke room control without being completely stopped. And with this, we are at our final area, which is the micro HID chamber. There's a little side area where there is a SCP object spawn, guaranteed. By going through the door, we follow some stairs up and follow the lab. There's a guaranteed medical pack spawn at the back of the room, and then the micro chamber itself. The glass is not breakable. There is also a possible medical pack spawn inside of the chamber itself. Then of course there's the micro HID, which we will talk about in the items category. We're finally ready to go off to the entrance zone. I've already talked about the little side room with the 3x3 lockers, but it's worth mentioning that you can shoot through the glass here. Welcome to Entrance Zone, the smallest zone in the game, and it doesn't house much of anything. There's the occasional locker or medical pack spawn, but that's it actually. There are three main attractions here in Entrance Zone: the intercom room and the two gates. Back to the intercom room, there's a possible medical spawn above the area. Then you go down the stairs into an area full of hiding spots and the intercom. Once you've arrived at the machine, once you start speaking, you will get a certain amount of time to speak whatever message it is you have across the entire server. It will end early if you stop saying anything. That's really all there is to entrance besides the gates. There's also workstations inside of the gates. However, it's time to go up the elevator to the surface zone, starting at Gate A. Welcome to Surface Zone. As I just said, we are starting our adventure at Gate A, as it makes most sense. Upon exiting the elevator, we can find this nice open area where you can go down some stairs or to the bridge. Going down the stairs will lead you through a little tunnel over to another stairway leading you down to the main roads. Going away from the stairs over to the bridge, we will get a beautiful view for sniping, as well as a perfect view of where the chaos spawned from. A car will exit from that gate and drop off all of the chaos spawn wave. But we don't care about that right now. Continuing on, at the very bottom, we can find the Alpha Warhead control room previously mentioned. Inside, there is the terminal, as well as a workstation. Going through the gate, we can find Gate B, which has the elevator up the top. Going down the strip, once we reach an open area, this is where the MTF helicopter will drop down. We have a workstation here, as well as the long-awaited exit. Here, you just go through a few doors and run your victory lap down to the exit. And finally, you'll make it. That is, if it's your goal to get here. Now, we're off to the next section. Items and weapons. We're excluding keycards though, we've already done it. We are going to begin with weapons, starting with the COM-15, which is the pistol naturally found in light containment. There's only one of them. You can check the statistics and how much ammo is inside of a weapon, as well as its attachments, by hovering over it inside of your inventory. The COM-15 has very low damage, slow fire rates, and is mainly just used to pull a fast one in the early game, before something spawns. It does not have a lot of attachments, being 2 magazines, flashlight or no flashlight, and suppressor or no suppressor. But let's move on to its Chad brother, the COM-18. The COM-18 is a good weapon as it has much higher fire rates, a lot more damage, and can even prove itself to be useful after the early game. And here we're introduced to 2 different magazine types: AP, which is armor-piercing rounds, better for attacking humans, and JHP, which is better for attacking SCPs. Which type of ammo is better greatly depends on your situation. Next is the FSP-9 submachine gun, which guards naturally spawn with. It's pretty good fire rates and decent damage. It doesn't have many attachments, but what it does have is not so bad. What attachments you should use are not easy, since attachments are subjective about how you like to play, and what your situation is, but a quick rule is attachments like these, where you can draw the weapons quickly, will save you. Now we have the MTF Crossfect, which is a very powerful weapon and is good at every point in the game. Its attachments are quite alright, but like I said, attachments where you can draw the weapon quickly, and not with a scope, but with an IR sight, are just better. Unless you're going with a sniper. Now we have my favorite weapon in the game, the Epsilon 11 rifle. They are just so diverse with attachments and quite powerful if used right. I mean, take a look at some of these attachments. You got big magazines, smaller ones, multiple stock types, a bunch of different scopes. There's so much that you can do with this weapon, and it's just all around a very powerful weapon. Next up we have the Commander weapon, which is this sick LMG, which is pretty powerful, not as many attachments though. We have the Chaos weaponry with the AK here, and their ammo does not spawn naturally, so do not waste it. The AK is just the Chaos Insurgent's version of the E11, and it has a bit more recoil. Here we have the Shotgun, which can either have double shots or normal. Honestly, normal is better. This weapon takes quite a bit of skill in order to use correctly. Here we have the Revolver, which is quite diverse surprisingly. You can have a sniper, or you could have something else. By the way, it is entirely possible to play Russian roulette with it. Then we have the Chaos LMG, which is a proper machine gun. It is mainly useful against SCPs due to its high damage. It's important to know that special weapons made in 914 or found in the experimental weapon lockers cannot be added with attachments. There are 2 more weapons I would like to mention, being the 3x Particle Disruptor and the Micro. The Particle Disruptor has 2 modes, being the Big Shot and the Burst Fire. It has 5 charges total, so use it wisely. The Micro also houses 2 modes, being Quick Fire and the High Power. Quick Fire is very weak and, as you might imagine, quickly fires. It has a short range beam that does barely any damage, it's mainly just to scare away your opponents. The Big Charge on the other hand is worth the wait, as once it is fully charged up, you will shoot a very high concentration beam, which will destroy the health of anything in any SCP, and that has a lot of range. And I mean, it just looks cool, look at it. However, it will destroy the charge in the Micro. You can fix it, however, by putting it on Fine in 914, recharging the Micro HID to full. I know we went through the weapons section quickly, but now we're talking about SCP items, starting with SCP-500, which is a cure-all pill. It will clear you of all your effects and give you some regeneration, which is the best regeneration you can get, but only for a short amount of time. This is SCP-207, which just looks like a cola bottle. Drinking it is a double-edged sword, as it will grant you infinite stamina, so you won't have the burden of needing to stop and slow down when you're running away. And you will also get an increased speed boost, but at the cost of your health slowly draining over time. You can continue to drink more and more SCP-207 to go even faster, but then your health will really drain and it'll become unbearable where you need to get a medkit every 2 seconds. You can use SCP-500 to get rid of the effect. I want to talk about its brother really fast, which you can only make in 914, being Anti-207. It does the complete opposite, healing you, and if you're at full health, giving you AHP. The max HP you can have is 75. But Anti-207 will also slow you down and give you a bit worse stamina. SCP Anti-207 can also save you from otherwise fatal things such as fall damage, 939's pounce, and a direct grenade explosion. However, you will lose your effect and be dropped down to 1 HP. SCP-018, the Super Ball, as it's called. However, it looks like an ornament here because of the Christmas event. Ignoring that, when you throw the ball, it will begin randomly bouncing somewhat unpredictably, and this thing can seriously gain some dangerous speed to one-hit enemies, and also even knock doors off their hinges if they come into contact, making it quite the effective roadblock, and it's a good way overall to stop your pursuers from wanting to pursue you, though if you throw it in a bad area, it won't be very effective. You can also use the ball differently, though it is the complete opposite of easy to control. SCP-268 is one of the most powerful SCP objects in the entire game. When you wear it, you will go invisible for quite a generous amount of time. However, when your timer is up, you have quite the long cooldown to wait, so you have to use it wisely. Another downside of using it is when you put it on, if you interact with anything, whether it's a door or an elevator, or if you take out a weapon or keycards, you will become visible again, early, and have to wait that obnoxious cooldown. Not every single SCP will be tricked by your little hat trick. If you recall earlier when I was talking about the candies, well now we're talking about them. Starting with red candy, which will give you some pretty powerful regeneration. Purple candy gives you a temporary damage reduction, as well as the weakest regeneration in the game. Rainbow candy does a few things, including healing you slightly and giving you temporary AHP, as well as the invigoration effect, which lets you indefinitely sprint for a short amount of time. It also provides a permanent damage resistance to body shots until you die. Yellow candy gives you a slight speed boost and also the invigoration effect, allowing you to run. Green candy is arguably the best, as it gives you a pretty powerful regeneration for 30 seconds. Blue candy gives you 30 AHP, which does not regenerate or decay. SCP-2176 is known as the Ghost Light. When it is thrown inside of a room, all the doors will lock down and the lights will snuff out. If SCP-079 is spectating the room as it goes out, it will be disabled for 10 seconds. There are two versions of SCP-244, but they do the same exact thing, they just look different. 244-B spawns naturally in heavy containments, while 244-A must be found inside of a SCP box. When one of them is placed down, it will create a large cloud of icy smoke that, if you are inside of it, you will take damage if you're in for too long. It's a good way to kill people locked inside of rooms. SCP-1853 is an SCP item best suited for combat purposes. Upon equipping it, you will lose all of your ambience, and your gunplay will drastically increase. You will reload faster, heal faster, have faster fire rates, and less recoil, at the cost of your stamina being worse. The effects of the SCP depend on how much danger you are currently in. It's important to know that SCP-1853 is not compatible with SCP-207, as if you drink it, you will get the poison effect, which will kill you unless you take SCP-500 to get rid of all your effects. Unfortunately, you will lose all of your effects. SCP-1576 is a gramophone that allows you to temporarily speak with all the spectators in the game currently. They might give you good information or just nothing at all. SCP-1344 is a newly added SCP that, once you put it over your head, you have to wait a little bit of time before you can stab your eyes out. Now, that can't be a good thing, you're wondering, but it actually is insanely useful. Because you see, as soon as you put on those goggles, your entire world changes and you get a huge advantage, because now you can see enemies and all other kinds of players through walls and from a decent distance away. So this way, nothing is safe from your eyes and you can stop disaster before it strikes, or ambush an enemy. This way you can also carefully pick which encounters you want to go and fight. Just don't take off the goggles, as it's not a pretty sight. Heh. Let's talk about a few miscellaneous items, such as the radio here. It has 4 different ranges. Short range, which is pretty pathetic. Medium range, which uses a bit more power, and is significantly better. Long range, which no one in their right mind uses, since at this point it's either go big or get the fuck out. And then ultra range, which basically everyone with a radio will hear, but your battery will drain like crazy. Then we have ammo types, which you can drop and string them out in your inventory, which is just something I wanted to mention as it's quite important. Now we're going to talk about the different armors. If you hover over them, you can see all the statistics, including how much of what you can carry more of. Pause if you'd like to see them. There's combat armor, which is significantly better, and all you'll ever really need when playing. But for those who are more dedicated and want to go extra powerful, you have heavy armor, which is objectively the best armor and it gives you the most advantage over any other armor. Heavy armor just looks like combat armor, but with some extra padding on it. And finally, we can move to the last section of the video, being the SCPs themselves. I regret not talking about the SCPs earlier in the video, but hey, here we are. I'm going to start with the most interesting and different SCP to play, being SCP-079, which you're seeing right now. You're basically the puppet master of the entire facility, and a good 079 player can puppeteer their team to a victory as long as they have half a brain. You will need to be looking out for every single teammate playing this, shutting doors on people they are chasing, and when you are higher level, turning off the lights in rooms and even entire zones at some point, making the life for the humans much harder and much easier for your SCPs. A pro tip is to hold space to freely look with your cameras, and when you're looking towards the camera you want to go to, just press W, and it makes navigation infinitely easier. I believe that this is the most fun SCP to play as, and you just need to give it a chance, and you can identify when it's near by listening for the camera movements and looking to see if it's blue or red. I've decided that we're gonna take a quick break and take a look at all of the different models in the game, as I recorded them all together with a friend. Here you see the Class D and Scientist in all of their glory. I apologize for the camera being so jittery, as it's just the way it was for whatever reason. I honestly should have showed the models when I was talking about the characters and teams and stuff, but I don't write scripts, I just do things. Here's SCP-173's model, SCP-106's model, SCP-049's model, SCP-096's model, SCP-049-2's model, and lastly— DAMN! Sorry. SCP-939's model, which is caked up for some reason. Well then, now that we have our attention on SCP-939, let's talk about it for a little bit. It's one of the more unique SCPs to play. You can place down an amnestic cloud, which when humans are inside of, they cannot see the SCP-939 heal or even reload. 939 can also pounce, which is a almost guaranteed one-shot, although it does put you on all fours, so be careful. SCP-939 can also mimic sounds such as gunfire, as well as voices of the people it has killed, though it's never very convincing as they just spam voice lines that are usually really stupid. Next we're gonna talk about SCP-096. Now I forgot to mention it, but if you press F1 by default, you will get a little pop-up telling you all the abilities of the SCP you're playing as. And it's really important to ask questions to your teammate if you are not sure of what you have to do. Basically, if you look at SCP-096, he'll go super mega mad mode and try to kill everything that has looked at him. He will know the people's locations of those who have looked at his face. Specifically his face. If you look anywhere else, you are okay, but if you look at his face, he will kill you, and he's really tough to escape, so make sure you're looking down at all times when there's an SCP-096 nearby. Let's talk about SCP-049 now, the infamous Plague Doctor. In the lore, he's a one-hit, one-kill, but here he is a two-hit kill. He's able to revive the recently deceased as zombies known as SCP-049-2. These guys can be pretty useful and fun to play at times. SCP-049 can give them their Hume shield by pressing R, and if the zombies are near him, they will get their Hume shield. SCP-049 can also press F to get a speed boost and lock onto a certain target. Now we're going to talk about SCP-106, which is honestly the most balanced SCP in the game so far. He's a bit slow, but can walk through doors. He also has in the bottom left corner his Vigor. This meter will only move up if he's moving sufficiently. If he's not moving or hiding, it will not go up, but as soon as he starts moving enough, it will start rising again, meaning that you can't just camp. Vigor is useful as it allows you to use some of your abilities, such as using your map to teleport somewhere. You will emerge quite quickly and get a significant speed boost upon using your map, making you amazing for ambushing enemies. Also, your map will be larger the more Vigor you have. You can also use your stock ability with Vigor. And this is cool and all, but the main reason you would want to ever use this is to regenerate your Hume Shield, as it does not regenerate itself naturally like other SCPs do. Finally, let's talk about SCP-173, the sculpture. It can only move when being unobserved, and has quite a few abilities, such as putting sticky stuff on the floor to slow down enemies. It can kill people when they are not looking at it, but it also has a little blinking timer for when it can teleport towards its enemies. And if you land on an enemy when you teleport to them, they will die. SCP-173 can move freely in dark rooms if no one has a flashlight. I don't have footage of it, but you've seen when the lights go out. SCP-173 is quite a skillful SCP to play, and I like to call it a point-and-click adventure. You also have breakneck speed mode, which gives you a really short blink cooldown, and you also move super fast. However, you cannot kill people when inside this mode, so it's mainly used to go flank enemies and teleport behind them, cutting them off. Or as to escape, because 173 gets his health destroyed very quickly in firefights, because you are a completely stationary target, a sitting duck, and you cannot defend yourself. That alone makes 173 not ideal for late game combat, so you have to be very strategic about how you play, because going in head on for the MTF squad or Chaos Insurgency will just destroy all of your health and you won't prove yourself useful to your team. Somehow I forgot to mention it, but SCP-939 is basically blind and it can only see the sounds that people make. So if you're slow walking and not talking at all, then it will not find you easily. I also failed to mention that SCP-106 sends you to a pocket dimension, which is a perfect 1 in 8 chance to get the right door. It resets itself every time, so there is no strategy, it is pure luck whether you escape or die. Listening in on audio cues and listening to different footstep types and sounds will keep you alive, and hiding around corners. I have a bunch of footage of it, but can't find it, and I just have so much footage I don't feel like combing through. I mean, look how long this video is, I'm not doing more. And on that note, we are officially finished with this stupidly long video covering basically everything in this game. Now, I did skip a bunch of the finer details when I realized how lengthy this was getting, but I mean, I can't go back and change it now. If you're still finding yourself struggling with this game, I might make more videos talking about certain aspects of the game. However, the best way to learn is to observe. Watch some people play the game on YouTube, and play it yourself, and ask questions to the people around you. Although, a lot of people are assholes in this game, but don't let that turn you away. If you liked the video, then please subscribe, because this was not an easy video to make. It took forever, as you can clearly see, and that number going up is better news for me. Anyways, make sure to hydrate or you will dehydrate, and I hope to see you some other time. See ya.